House of Representatives demands urgent action on failing Nigerian missions abroad. Children's Day, Speaker urges end to child labor and bullying. And Speaker backs down on mandatory voting bill after public outcry. Great to have you back on You and Your Reps. I'm Victor, as we welcome. Now this week, the Green Chamber was anything but quiet, with bold moves, sharp debates, and decisions that could ripple through every corner of the country. From a diplomatic wake-up call to a rethinking of civic duty, there's plenty to unpack, so let's get it started. The House of Representatives is beaming its legislative searchlight on Nigeria's foreign service, urging urgent government action to address the troubling conditions of Nigerian missions overseas, especially in the United States. Now, lawmakers are calling on the federal government to take swift steps to revamp these diplomatic posts and restore Nigeria's image on the global stage. They are also pressing for the immediate appointment of Nigeria's permanent representative to the United Nations, as well as a substantive ambassador to the United States.
The House notes that such lapses as well as delays in appointing foreign diplomats could compromise Nigeria's global reputation.
For 2 years running, Nigeria has failed to replace Nigerian permanent representative to the United Nations and Nigerian High Commissioner to the United Nations, who chairs the Committee on Peace. This dereliction, among other issues, have created a negative perception of Nigeria globally and will potentially harm our aspiration for a permanent seat in the United Nations Security Council. Nigeria's international image is severely undermined by such appalling neglect, mismanagement, and administrative decay in key diplomatic outposts, especially in the United States.
In a separate motion, lawmakers lamented the living conditions of internally displaced persons in various camps across the country, while calling for a structured reintegration plan
that will be providing cash assistance, food and clothing, and psychological and emotional counseling.
It must be that the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, in collaboration with the relevant or respective state government, should work hand in hand.
This motion is referred to the Committees on Emergency and Disaster Preparedness and State and Local Government Committee for further legislative action.
On security, the House urged the Inspector General of Police to establish a mobile police camp in Bakori local government area of Katsina State to ward off bandits and kidnappers.
Lack of a mobile camp in Gugod has hindered the response to distress calls and increased violence, necessitating the establishment of a dedicated camp.
Among bills that scaled second reading is a bill for an act seeking 15% women representation in armed forces recruitment and personnel appointments.
And ensure that the establishment of a unit to monitor and maintain records of gender-responsive compliance program and disaggregated data collation and for related matters.
In celebration of National Children's Day, Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, has called on Nigerians to take a stand against child labor and bullying in all forms, emphasizing that the full enforcement of existing laws is key to creating a safe and nurturing environment for every child. The Speaker made the remarks during an interactive session with students from 10 secondary schools across the Federal Capital Territory, who visited the National Assembly as part of activities to mark the special day.
Speaker Abbas Tajuddin is up close and personal with students on Children's Day, presenting gifts and providing responses to critical issues on the welfare of children.
How can brain drain, which is popularly known as Japa syndrome, be prevented in Nigeria? What is the government doing about child labor and trafficking?
The Speaker notes that challenges with child labor and bullying can be surmounted if citizens break the circle of silence to allow relevant agencies implement existing laws and policies.
Open your mouth. Talk, not only on yourself. Don't wait for somebody to bully you. When you see somebody bullying another, be the first to go and complain. If action is not taken by the school, escalate it, even anonymously. If you are afraid that the school authority will reprimand you.
At plenary, the House further demonstrates value for child engagement and inclusion when the Speaker vacates his seat temporarily for Lawal Sani of Government Secondary School, Kuje, Abuja, to serve as pro tem Speaker.
I hope you not declare my seat vacant after taking over.
Honorable Ogbara, please lead the debate.
We urge the federal government to prioritize policies that support children's health, education, and welfare, while improving investments in ICT infrastructure, particularly in rural communities.
Those against you say nay.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
The ayes have it.
The mood changes to sober reflection as the House, in a valedictory session, honors the memory of 5 members who died in active service within the last 1 year. They are late Adewumi Ononuga from Ogun State, who was Deputy Whip, Abdulkadri Dambuga from Sokoto State, Isa Dogonyaro from Jigawa State, Olaide Akinremi from Oyo State, and Ekene Adams from Kaduna State.
Each served with distinction, passion, and tireless dedication to their country and constituents.
The Southwest lost someone that for us to replace her as a woman, we still need to pray hard.
The best way to remember them is to carry these ideals from where they left it to where it ought to be.
Family members also offered tributes in honor of the late lawmakers who will be remembered for devoted public service.
And Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, has formally withdrawn the compulsory voting bill, which he co-sponsored with Representative Daniel Asama from Plateau State. The proposed amendment to the Electoral Act 2022, which sought to make voting mandatory for all eligible Nigerians, had advanced to second reading in the House and stirred wide-ranging debates and public reactions. So in a statement, the Speaker explained that the decision to step back was made after extensive consultations with various stakeholders, taking into account the importance of individual liberties and the prevailing public sentiment. He noted that while the bill was conceived with noble intentions to boost civic participation and voter turnout, lawmaking must ultimately reflect the will and rights of the people. Rather than impose voting as an obligation, he says, his commitment to pursuing innovative strategies that encourage voluntary participation, making the electoral process more appealing and accessible to all Nigerians, will be pursued. He emphasized that withdrawing the bill paves the way for deeper dialogue and more inclusive engagement going forward. Why now? That was the question we posed to Representative Garba Mohammed, the lawmaker representing Gwale Federal Constituency in Kano State, and the driving force behind the motion on reviving Nigeria's textile industry. Here's what he told us.
We are very much aware that after independence in this country, the textile industry was the largest employer of labor. Like I mentioned in the motion, you see that Kano Textile, Kaduna Textile, Arewa Textile, Asaba Textile, Aba Textile, United Nigeria Textile, among others. You know, all these are dead today. So there is need for us to revamp these comatose textile industries scattered all over Nigeria so that our youth can get employment, our youth can be employed and earn a living. Now, Nigeria, more or less, we depend solemnly now on imported textiles, imported materials. So it is high time we look within, we bring back those textiles mills so that our cotton farmers can sell the farm product that is cotton to the textiles for production in Nigeria, for consumption in Nigeria, and eventually for export. The cotton can be exported. The cotton can be ginned and made use of that to make clothes in this country. So this is why we are calling on the federal government of Nigeria to find a way of resolving this issue. That is what? First, try to revamp these textile industries. Try to see that there is enough power supply, maybe at some subsidized rate to the textile industry. Even if not at subsidized rate, but steady power supply is key to textile production in this country so that our youth can be gainfully employed. Now we are only giving jobs to the Chinese, who are major exporters of textile into this country. So this is the purpose of this motion. There are a lot of amendments to the prayers, and this shows that my colleagues received it very well. It was well received. There was amendment from some members. That means members took interest in it. So to me, I think it was a very good and timely motion that came up. And actually the House passed it, and it will be passed to the Committee of Industry, Commerce, and other related committees so that they work on it and revert back to the House. So what we expect is that whatever the joint committees come up with, the executive should try to implement it so that we have these industries working back again in Nigeria.
Order in the chamber, a familiar phrase that rings out when debates intensify and tempers rise on the House floor. But behind those words is a figure often overlooked. Who actually maintains that order? Who enforces the rules and ensures discipline when lines are crossed? In this edition of Legislative Terms and Tools, we turn the spotlight on the Sergeant-at-Arms, one of Parliament's most underappreciated enforcers. And to help us unpack the role and its relevance, we sat down with the chairman of the House Committee on Rules and Business, Francis Waive.
The term Sergeant-at-Arms referred to, in general terms, the law enforcement officials of the Legislative House. In many cases, they are present at plenary and entry and exit points of the assembly. You know, Sergeant-at-Arms are to maintain decorum, law and order, and where there is, they are to protect the maize and lead the procession of presiding officers to begin a parliamentary meeting or gathering. In many cases, they are also used to escort members who are suspended out of the chamber or out of the premises. But generally their role is to maintain law and order in the presence of the Legislative Assembly. In the National Assembly here, we have Sergeant-at-Arms, and we usually have a boss, leader of each chamber. In any chamber, there's a leader who leads the Sergeant-at-Arms. So he is like the commander or boss. But their business generally is to ensure that unauthorized persons don't get access to the chambers and that business of the chambers are conducted with decorum. To distribute literature documents during proceedings and ensure that everything is done decently and in order.
As the 10th National Assembly edges closer to its halfway mark, the big question remains, how well has it delivered on its mandate? We put that to the chairman of the House Committee on Public Service Matters, who represents Sanyawa Gari Federal Constituency in Kano State.
As somebody who witnessed the 8th Assembly, the 9th Assembly, and now the 10th Assembly, I think we have something positive to say about what is there in the 10th Assembly. You see, the constitutional provision emanates from Section 4 of the Constitution, which give the legislature, the National Assembly, to promulgate laws for the good governance of the country. And that is backed up by Section 47, which also stated that those legislation will only come or has to only come from the National Assembly. And when you move to Section 88, it empowers the legislators to investigate anything for good laws of the country, to appropriate money. Once it is government fund, the legislature will have to maybe appropriate funds for the spending of such money. And it empowers the National Assembly to investigate all those money that it appropriates to various places. So those powers drive from Section 4, Section 47, Section 88, and Section 89 of the Nigerian Constitution. So that one is sacrosanct. So based on those powers, I will want to tell you that the 10th Assembly, under the leadership of Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, is really doing the Constitution, what the constitutional provision provide for them. We are very happy the members, 360 of us, have a kind of synergy. We have a very excellent working relationship within us, and then with the executive also. You can see that between the executives and the legislature, we are not meant to fight. People are saying we are robust, and we are this. Yes, let's agree with that. But is this a situation they always want us to have a rowdy situation where we don't live in harmony? I don't think this is the right thing to do. We always, if you can see, recently we passed 4 bills on the issue of these tax reforms. Initially, when the bill came, there were so many apprehensions. There were so many misunderstandings between the members themselves. And therefore, those agitations will have, the members' concerns will have to be addressed before we give it consideration. And those addresses, those concerns were addressed, maybe through the governors forum and what have you. So whoever feel and said that this National Assembly, the 10th National Assembly, is robust, I don't think it's fair to us. Because when there is something that we have to review, we have to scrutinize, we have to see that a clean copy of truly what is good for the country is presented to us. We have to sit down to make sure that we give it a very excellent look to ensure that good legislation come out of it. So the best harmony we have between the executive and the legislature, I think, is the best thing for the country. And the president doesn't have any concern on what anything bad in the 4 bills he presented, and that was why we have to see them wherever there were contention on the issue of this and that will have to be ironed out before they got a very peaceful passage by the National Assembly. So that is the synergy that is required by both the House and the executive side of the government. I'm not happy with that because I think it's credit that must be given to the last administration. The last administration were able, during the 9th Assembly, to ensure that January to December deadline is met. But I'm very sure the reason why that is happening might not be unconnected with the certain problems that has to do with the governance. You see, the president wanted to include some portion of the tax bills, I suppose. I'm not very sure. But I feel the president wanted to have legislation in place before the approval of the 2025 appropriation bill brought to the National Assembly at that time, and he wanted to coincide with maybe the passage of the tax reform bill. But unfortunately, that was not done, and that was what caused the delay. And when the bill came, it was not a matter of the bill going straight to get it passed. There were so many issues that will have to be ironed out, and that was what I felt caused the delay in the passage of the 2025 bill. But probably, and I hope that I'm very positive that the government will take care of those lapses in this coming appropriation bill. Our speaker is a speaker of the people. He always make sure that whatever decision major he will take, he call us to executive session. And I want to tell you that was why within the period under review, we have almost 2,284 bills that went through first reading. And out of that, 1,515 bills are awaiting second reading. And out of those numbers, we have almost 326 bills that have been passed to the committees. They were passed. They have passed the second reading, and they were referred to the committees. That is very big, because that means the committees, apart from their oversight function, they are also very busy with other things that has to do with further legislation on the bills from the chamber. And I think that is a very, very great story to have almost more than 300 bills in the committees. So that means also you will see that virtually every day we will have sitting of the committee of the whole to make final decision on those bills that were referred from the committee back to the chamber. I think that is a very success story. You see, we are every day in a learning process. Most of the members are beginners, and that experience of the last 2 years will have polished them in such a way that they will improve naturally, because they have started this in the first year is a beginning of learning. Second year has exposed them to the true learning. So you shall expect that the third and the fourth year will be work as usual. So you shall expect that the first 2 years that they had from the beginning, because almost 80% of the members of the chambers, the 10th assembly, are new members. So 2 years is okay for them to have learned the legislative processes. And they have performed very well, because you can see that most of these bills are from the new members. Most of these bills. So they are picking very well. So the third and fourth year is going to be a very successful tenure for the 10th assembly. This I'm very sure. And this is because of the stability brought in to the House by the leadership. Both the opposition and you hardly had any serious differences between the opposition and the majority party. So I think we are very good to go in this way, and we hope that it will be good for the country.
And that's our package this week on You and Your Reps. As always, the issues continue to revolve, and so does the conversation. We'll be right here to track it all for you. I am Victor, thanks for watching, and see you next time.